Well, a new twist now on a scandal at the EPA over the use of a fake name on certain email accounts. We covered the story after a Freedom of Information request last spring revealed that EPA Director Lisa Jackson and others used aliases to exchange emails with some outside groups. There was a question about whether that was an attempt to evade Freedom of Information requests on some controversial matters. Perhaps the so-called war on coal was the allegation, that they were trying to hide stuff on that. Well, the EPA called it standard practice. But then Ms. Jackson unexpectedly resigned right after Christmas, just as the Inspector General within the EPA started taking a hard look at this. She says the resignation was just for family reasons and denies it had anything to do with the aliases. Now they say this may be more widespread than we knew. My next guest thinks perhaps there is another reason to her resignation. His name is Chris Horner. He's an attorney. He's a senior fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, and he's author of The Liberal War on Transparency. And you are the man who started this all, Chris Horner. We may never have known of Richard Windsor, the alias she was using, had it not been for you.
Well, that's true. I found a very surprising memo this spring while writing the book, Liberal War on Transparency, about various tricks I'd found they were using, including document destruction, which on its face is criminal, Gmail accounts, private servers, private computers, a whole host of things. And then I found that they'd actually instituted these secret accounts under an administrator, Carol Browner, who had destroyed her hard drive in violation of a court order. I take that back, our hard drive, claiming she didn't use her computer for email. And I find out she instituted these with the secret or alias accounts. But we did ask for Lisa Jackson's emails discussing this war on coal, and I learned that she actually created a false identity. This is, to our knowledge, the first time ever, a false identity, installing a dummy employee's Lotus Notes account on 3 of her computers. I have screenshots from inside the agency showing that we're taking this to new depths. And they're now beginning to produce documents, the agreement to produce documents immediately preceding her announced resignation.
Now, when you first released this information to the public, and we first got wind of it, we did a report on it. And I can tell you that, whoa, the EPA was not happy. And said, look, this is standard practice. They can't have, people just emailing Lisa Jackson at EPA, because she'd be getting hundreds of thousands of emails, and she's got to get business done. And that's all she was doing. But then there was pushback about, okay, then you come up with Jackson Lisa at EPA, or something that is readily identifiable. You don't use your dog's name and the town or the street you grew up on, and because it makes it difficult for the record keepers to find your emails when you get a Freedom of Information request from people like Chris Horner.
In fact, we've now, I think, proven that the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act officers at EPA did not have a Post-it note up on the wall, Richard Windsor equals Lisa Jackson, because they've been turning over emails with Richard Windsor's name on them. I have several, both produced to us, apparently inadvertently, and to other people, even signed Lisa, and now they're blacking out the name she used in the documents they just produced to us, claiming it's a state secret. It would violate her personal privacy. It's amazing it took us until now to realize you need to create a false identity in violation of federal law to correspond internally. This is not, as far as we know, what's something that everybody does, unless they're proving too much and saying everybody in this administration does it. But the only, Megyn, foreseeable, certainly inescapably foreseeable outcome of creating a false identity for keeping purposes is that you would subvert federal record-keeping and disclosure law.
Now, I want to talk to you about 2 more things, and we're going to carry this segment over because this is important. In your book, you talk about it's not just the EPA and it's not just Lisa Jackson, that there have been some shocking examples of non-transparency within this administration to try to keep people who have the right to the information from getting it, from finding out what they're actually talking about on some important issues. So we're going to talk about that. But I do want to ask you, you did get, after this whole thing happened and she resigned and all that, you got a first wave of information that was released. Did you find anything interesting under the Richard Windsor email?
I found that when they told Fox News we have nothing to hide, that position is no longer operative, because they, using the traditional typical black rectangle, they blocked out the administrator's name on the emails. They're hiding from us, the taxpayer. Reagan said, I'm paying for this microphone. Well, we're paying for this government. Actually, my children are. They're hiding what name they're even searching. I think they're avoiding searching even the Windsor account.
All right, stand by, Chris. We'll continue this on the opposite side of the break. Stay with us.